Alright, so for those who saw my other video, there was a reference there to the guide itself, and there's a breakdown for the nutrients. Now, if you went to that nutrient guide, it's not evident. There's a lot going on here. So I figured I'd make a little video and explain how to use this thing, because it's pretty powerful. I got my mega crop in here on the first tab. You'll notice at the bottom there's a bunch of tabs. These are all the nutrients that I put in here. They're all based on Brian 420 PM's nutrient comparisons, where he was looking at the price of each one and comparing how much you're getting for your, how much bang for your buck kind of thing. And I used his charts and converted them into nutrient calculators. I can see what my NER is in my recipes. And then I made them for a bunch of different nutrients. You'll see at the bottom there, a lot of dry stuff and a few liquids. Liquids are trickier because you got to take in the consideration the liquid density. So it's not just the weight. Yeah. So basically, they're all the same as far as how you use them. It's just a matter of the layout. So mine is pretty intense because it's got all the add-ons and everything. I have Megacrop A, B. I have potassium phosphate, which is MKP. I got potassium sulfate. I got potassium nitrate and magnesium nitrate. I have two different kinds of silica that I've used in the past, the psychosilica and the silica max. I have my Epsom salt, magnesium sulfate, and the CalMag. So you'll notice an AB on on some of them anyways. That's just for me because I'm doing DWC and it's 2 times the EC. And I use 4 gallons, so it's an 8-gallon recipe. So these are just really divided by 8 here. These are your grams per gallon there for AB. So if you use this and you download it, just basically ignore this part and enter your numbers here and it'll all work out in the breakdown. And at the bottom here is basically just so I know what to add for my recipe. And I have it set here so you can set it to 1 gallon or 5 gallons or whatever your res is. Mine is 4 gallons. I put 8 because it's 2x EC. So that would make more sense there if you know that. So then you can just look at your week. Okay, I need 4 grams of silica or 4 so it's milliliters or grams. If it's dry, it's grams per gallon. If it's liquid, it's milliliters per gallon. But it's always per gallon. Yeah, so this helps you as far as what you need to add to your recipe. And it's in the order you should put it in. Except for maybe CalMag there. I added that later, so that should be number 2, basically. So you put your numbers in here in grams per gallon, and it'll break it down per nutrient in ppms, elemental ppms. So it doesn't matter how many gallons you use, this is the ratio. So if you put that recipe, you're going to get 16 ppms of N, 17 of P, and that's just from the A. You're going to get 62 of N, 4 of the NH4, and the B. And then I got my add-ons. So each one, it tells you how much you're adding of each element that's relevant. Some don't have micros, so they're not there. Some have, the ammonia nitrate, so I added that because that's a different nutrient when it comes to calculating the EC. They're opposites, right? The NO3 is a cation and the other one's an anion, or the opposite there. Might be flipping that. You can see all the elements are there, and at the end is your NER. So this is the final recipe of all of them put together in elemental ppms. So what Brian had was right up to the total here. These are total ppms elemental, and then I added the EC calculation, which looks at the moles, the molecular weight and all that. It's an estimation, but it's pretty close. So I have 2 rows here because if you use RO, then you don't have to factor in anything else. If you use TAP, you can put your EC there because you can measure it and know exactly. That's the best bet. You just put your tap EC there and it'll add it to the EC of the RO. This row here is just a cation, anion balance. If you're within 5%, it'll stay green. If you're over 5%, that means there's an imbalance and you might see precipitation or pH fluctuations, stuff like that. If you have it within 4 or 5%, you're not going to have any problems. Everything else is just there to calculate the result. So that's all you really need to know. And then there's graphs. So at the top here is the ratio of ammonium nitrate to the ammonium nitrogen versus the nitrate nitrogen. You have your iron in here too. Sometimes it gets high with CalMag too. Good to know. This is the total micronutrients, including the iron, your silica. So this is the ratio of the NH4 to NO3 in percentage. So I only have 3.2% of NH4 versus the NH3, or the NO3. That could be useful. My test line here is basically just me trying to have a low nitrogen ending. That's a little off. It's 15%, right? So the balance is off. It's going to have precipitation. But it's potentially my lowest N in the end, while keeping the rest the same. And then I got little graphs there that show that visually. So each one is basically the same thing. If you go to Athena, see that you don't have that doubling there. You just put your grams per gallon. It's going to break it down. In the end, tell you how much you have of each one. And the cation and ion balance. Most of these are set by what was online, their recipes. There might be a link underneath it there to show the recipe if I did put it there. Most of them don't have it, so you just have to go look it up. But I've used potentially just the basics there of what they show. But I have a lot of them. They're all there. So basically you can do this to any nutrient. You just have to know what to do in the chart to modify the settings. And it's pretty basic. I mean, if I go to my regular one here, I'll explain each section. So these are your grams per gallon for each week, each product. Here is where you would modify. So if you, let's say you want to try a different nutrient blend, it's not in the list here, you could just pick any one of these. And for the guaranteed analysis that you see on the bag, each nutrient has to have that by law, show a percentage of each nutrient. So you put those numbers here, the actual percentage number in the blue box for each one. If you just do that, it'll properly calculate what you should get out of it. You see there that I have all the numbers in there for that. Once you've done that, then it's just a matter of putting in your numbers for the recipe. It's a good way to figure out what you're doing with the add-ons and see where it lands with the numbers without mixing anything, or you know what I mean? A good estimator. So that's pretty much it. At the bottom is your nutrient recipe in grams for the amount that you specify here. So for me it's 8 gallons, but it's really 4 at 2x EC. So if you're doing cocoa, you're not going to be doing 2x EC, it's going to be 1x EC. So if it's a 5 gallon mix, you put 5 there and that'll tell you how many grams of each. Pretty simple. I find it useful. It's good for tweaking the mix and seeing, different numbers. I have it set to Bugby's recommended ppm numbers with taking in consideration Nick. Now I forget his channel, but Nick from magnesium and phosphorus being at the same level, so I tweaked Bugby's numbers to match that. But everything else is pretty much Bugby's recommendations. And it's been working really good for me. So I hope this helps, and hopefully you can figure this out and use it for yourself. Have a great day. Take care.